Welcome back. And thanks for joining me again. And today I decided to do something a little bit different. So I'm actually doing a review video about a potential Senate Judiciary nominee, and she's going through scrutiny by Senator Ted Cruz and Senator John Kennedy. And this entire hearing is presided by Laphonza Butler. And yeah, it's really an interesting take here because I mean they do jump into to the transgender policies and how these policies are affecting the law at a macro level, right? So yeah, once again, this is a topic that is also that has a little bit of sensitivity to it. First of all, it is a protected class, so therefore I just wanted to like maybe do a brief introduction here and let you hear it for yourself, judge it as you see it, and then if you, once again, if you have strong opinions or strong um beliefs on this case, please feel free to like leave your comments in the comment sections. And per usual, let's keep it friendly, let's keep it clean, and let's keep it really to the argument, right? So, anyways, let's jump into it, and yeah, let's see what potential nominee has to say about these topics.
The government did not move for a stay of the decision.
Well, Judge Netburn, I want to continue on this line of questioning. In your court, what matters more, the rights of individuals or your political ideology?
I apply the law to the facts.
I asked a question, which matters more?
Well, my political ideology doesn't matter at all.
Okay, so I don't believe you. And I think this case demonstrates that you are willing to subjugate the rights of individuals to satisfy your political ideology. This case.
And yes, I agree with Senator Ted Cruz. Like, especially when you're applying the law, right? Your biases or maybe your political ideology will play a major role in it, right? So, for her to answer that question the way she answered it, I think does set a little tiny bit of sentiment saying, hey, you're not being truly honest here. But like just a general rule and a general consensus of how the world works. How can what you believe in not play a role in how you do something? You know? So anyways, let's jump back into it. I think that's a good question there. If anybody feels free to answer that question, go ahead and give us your 2 cents on it.
Case involves a male defendant who raped a 9-year-old boy. Was he guilty of that?
Yes, the petitioner pled guilty to that.
Okay, so he raped a 9-year-old boy. He also raped a 17-year-old girl. Was he guilty of that?
He pled guilty, the petitioner pled guilty to that crime as well.
So was he guilty?
I hope so, because she pled guilty to it.
He was a he when he did this.
That's correct.
And also criminal deviant conduct, which the record doesn't disclose what that was exactly. Then, after serving in prison, Mr. McLean was released for parole, but then violated the terms of parole by having internet and was sent back to prison.
And just to clarify things here, obviously this is a case that's an extreme outlier, right? Just because somebody identifies in a sexual orientation doesn't mean they are of a deviant mind. This is not the case here. We're just saying, hey, at least apply common sense law to like a group of people that affects the rest of the society, right? So obviously when you're making law, an outlier should not be like the subject that really changes how the law applies to everybody, right? So I think, especially if you're studying things like statistics or like quality centered engineering, the outlier is usually thrown to the side because it skews the data, right? So anyways, not to get too deep into like mathematics here, but let's see what Senator Ted Cruz says and how the potential nominee there answers.
1 year after being released again, he was convicted of having child pornography. Is that correct?
I'm unclear on exactly the time frame that you're at, but the petitioner was convicted of distributing child pornography.
Child pornography that was images of adults violently raping children.
Abhorrent conduct.
Okay.
For which there are real victims.
And this individual, 6'2", biologically a man. A minute ago you said that when this man decided that he was a she, you said this individual was, quote, I wrote it down, sober and entirely a female. That phrase struck me as remarkable. Did this individual have male genitalia?
I think what I said, or at least what
that is a verbatim quote, entirely a female.
Sorry, what I meant to say was hormonally a female.
Okay, but that's not entirely. Did this individual have male genitalia?
Yes.
So you took a 6'2" serial rapist, serial child rapist with male genitalia, and he said, you know, I'd like to be in a women's prison. And your answer was, that sounds great to me. Let me ask you something. The other women in that prison, do they have any rights?
Is that a question you're
yes,
asking me?
The other women in that prison, do they have any rights?
Of course.
Do they have the right not to have a 6'2" man who is a repeat serial rapist put in as their cellmate?
Senator Cruz, I considered the facts presented to me, and I reached a decision based on what the law is.
I asked you a question. Do they have a right not to have a 6'2" man who is a serial rapist put in as their cellmate? Do those women have a right to that?
Every person who's incarcerated has the right to be safe in their space.
But you didn't think so. You didn't think so. And in fact, I'm going to give some quotes from your order because Senator Kennedy is right. This is not a judge's order. This is a political activist. By the way, the beginning of your order says, at birth, people are typically assigned a gender. I got to say that would astonish a lot of Americans. A lot of Americans think you go to the hospital, a baby is born, and congratulations, you have a little boy, a little girl. The assigned a gender, I know you went to Brown, but it sounds like it's in a college faculty lounge with no bearing on reality. The Bureau of Prison argued what I'm saying right now, that if you put this person in a female prison, there will be a risk of sexual assault to the women. And you know what you did? You said you didn't care about the women. I'm going to quote what you wrote. You wrote, quote, the Bureau of Prisons claim penological interest in protecting female prisoners from sexual violence and trauma. This interest is legitimate, that's kind of you to say, but there are no signs that petitioner is at risk of reoffending. The record is devoid of evidence of incidents of violence or assault during petitioner's incarceration when she was the perpetrator, only the victim. A theoretical risk of sexual assault by the prisoner without more cannot support the BOP's position. No evidence, theoretical. Have you dealt, in what universe is someone who is a serial repeat child rapist not at a risk of reoffending?
Senator, as I do in every case.
Okay, I know you've been told to repeat the line, I follow the law. I asked a question. In what universe is someone who is a serial repeat child rapist not at risk of reoffending?
Sir, I looked at the facts that were before me in this case. All of the evidence, including the statements of every warden who had supervised this petitioner.
You also wrote, the BOP also posits that permitting petitioner to live among women will be traumatizing and possibly dangerous to them. This concern is overblown. I have to say, if I were the father of one of those women, and you decided that my daughter's cellmate was going to be a 6'2" man who over and over and over again committed violent sexual assault, I would say the entire justice system is absurd, and it is clear on your record your political ideology matters a heck of a lot more than the rights of those women that you endangered. I think you're a radical, and I think you have no business being a judge.
I think that's well put, right? I mean, the facts were there. I mean, there's been a behavioral or reputation of what this person can do. So I mean, especially the fact that they've continually committed these criminal infractions. I think to put him in a situation where they can repeat these infractions is kind of a bit asinine to me, right? but it's a bit dangerous because I mean, yes, I mean there are all these things or there are all these society things that have changed, right? I mean, I'm trying to be careful here not to like say something that's that may offend somebody, right? Because I mean, there are people in the world that struggle with these things, right? So the idea that we can take like a very bad example and try to make it as an umbrella term for everybody in that protected class of individuals, I think should not be the case here. And to Senator Cruz's point, I think it's more of a poor judgment of the people that are actually trying to uphold the law here, right? So on that point, do you think it would be wise to like welcome this lady here as a judicial potential judicial nominee, or should the House or should the Senate pass on this person? Because I mean, it does show that there's a bit of incompetency there, right? So, so this is my approach to this rather review is not to talk about the rights of a protected class of people. It's more so like, hey, the people that are actually leading the country or they're making these laws and regulations ultimately. How are they thinking about it? Because yes, you may make that decision thinking that, hey, I'm doing this to like help this community, but really you're making it worse because I mean that person is not a good example of what that community is. So in this case, not are you only putting the people that are sharing space, communal space with this convicted person that obviously has impaired judgment when it comes to like that type of behavior. So anyways, all right, let me delve back a bit. So so anyway, the scrutiny goes in, and Senator Ted Cruz here is really good, and he also ran for. It was a presidential candidate for 2016, and of the Republican panel, he was given a round of money. He's a truly interesting person. But anyway, let's continue and see what how this scrutiny goes.
Judge Netburn, there was an opportunity during your exchange with Senator Cruz that you were attempting to offer a response relative to the conditions under which this petitioner was unsafe in the facilities in which she was being held. I'd like to offer you the opportunity to finish that response.
So the facts that were presented to me and what I relied on to make my decision were that the petitioner had engaged in no violence, no physical violence, no acts of sexual violence whatsoever while in custody. All three wardens who supervised the petitioner requested that she be transferred to a women's facility because of her serious medical needs. In addition, the Bureau of Prisons' longtime medical provider testified at a 2-day hearing in my courtroom and recommended that the petitioner be transferred because of her serious medical needs. And the last thing I'll say is that the Transgender Executive Council, which is the body that makes decisions on behalf of transgender transfer requests within the Bureau of Prisons, never said that the petitioner could not be transferred and never, ever said that she couldn't be transferred because of any risk of violence. What the Transgender Executive Council repeatedly said in denying the request was simply that she needed to maintain her hormone levels. That was the repeated justification for the denial of transfer. But the petitioner had reached full female hormone levels before even being incarcerated. At the time, the district judge in Indiana who sentenced the petitioner requested that she be placed in a women's facility. Her hormones were entirely female at that point, and so the decision by the Transgender Executive Council to deny the transfer request based on this idea that it was only because her hormones needed to be consistent and stabilized, I found was a pretext, but they never once said she cannot be transferred because of violence. It was always based on this idea that her hormones had to be.
Thank you, Judge Netburn. Senator Padilla.
Judge Netburn, that's directly contrary to what your report
you all
said.
have
That is
had
directly
no.
We're going to follow up, and that's
And just as this is more of a question, and forgive my ignorance here, can a person have like a mono composition that's entirely female or male? Because I was under the impression of from what I remember from like the many years ago of high school biology is every person still has a composition of both male and female hormones, right? I think if you're if you're a male, then I think your hormones that are predominantly male are on a higher uh, concentration than that of a person that would be considered as a female. But anyways, this is more of a question. So if somebody else has a bit of explanation of how that works, please jot it down in the chat.
How it
no,
works.
there is not.
That is
There
exactly
is-
how it works.
Look,
If
we're
you
gonna be
follow
allowed
up,
to
you didn't get
ask
extra time,
questions?
and she just directly contradicted her own report. I'm just going to read her own words
This isn't
because
fair,
it's
Madam
exactly
Chair.
the opposite of what she said. Your
Madam
own
Chair.
report.
Senators,
says, quote,
I gave both of you more time to finish your line of questioning. I allowed the witness to finish her. I allowed the witness to finish her response. I allowed the witness to finish
You're
her
abusing
response.
your status
That
as
is,
chair.
Okay, I understand
That
that you're
is not-
scared of the
You are
facts.
abusing
I
your
have-
status
Madam
as chair.
Senator
Madam Chair,
Padilla?
You
Madam
can't
Chair,
just open
Thank you,
up
Madam Chair.
testimony and then
she
not
has an
give us a
obligation to
chance
explain
cross-examine.
why she directly contradicted what she wrote in her report. She says in her report, the Bureau of Prisons' claimed penological interest is in protecting female prisoners from sexual violence and trauma. She just told you the Bureau of Prisons didn't say there was a concern about sexual violence and trauma. Those are directly contradictory, and why are you contradicting what you wrote in your report?
And what are
Thank
you
Madam
trying to
Chair. I
hide,
believe
Madam
I have
Chair?
the floor.
No, wait, point of
I
order.
believe
Senator
I
Padilla.
have the
What are
floor.
you
Senator
trying to
Padilla.
hide,
Are you going to let her
Madam
answer that question?
Senator
or you
Padilla.
don't want her to answer that question?
Senator
You're
Padilla.
afraid?
Very
This
much,
is a
Madam
cover-up,
Chair.
Madam
Senator
Chair.
You're afraid
Padilla.
of the answer to
This
that
is
question.
no
Cover-up.
And that brings to the end of this video. Most of the video is just Senator Ted Cruz going back and forth with Miss Butler there. So yeah, I mean, this is obviously a very sensitive topic. It's always good to proceed with caution. So for those of you that may have a better understanding of how more of the people that are like more skilled in that area of expertise, they can share with us how that goes. But anyways, either way, this was a bad story. It was a terrible ending. The person that was the accused there that had a history of repeat offending actually repeated. So I mean, when at a level where you're affecting a large population of people, I think it would be wise to like keep those things in common, right? Because I mean, if somebody's portraying a serial behavior, like a behavior of repeating what they've done, especially on the criminal infraction side of things, I think it's always good to take them seriously and not to put them in a place or in a situation where they may repeat their behavior quite easily. So anyways, I think the potential judicial nominee there had maybe had missed a step in making those decisions. But it's always good to be careful, and it's always good to apply scrutiny when you're like putting people in place where they may implement law and policy that's going to affect the masses, you know? Because I mean, once the oops is done, you can't just go back like, oops, I made a mistake. We move on with life. But anyways, like I said, I don't want to infuse too much of my opinion into the video. I like it to be as raw as it could possibly be. Let my viewers make a mind of their own. And if you feel strongly about that topic, go ahead and leave a comment. But let's always try to be respectful of people. I mean, life can be tough. You know, you do not know what the person is going through. So let's approach every topic with a little bit of kindness. Anyways, if you like coverage, coverage of content like this, go ahead and leave us a subscription or share. You know, and if you like the video, please like it. If not, don't. So anyways, thanks for watching, and a great many thanks to my latest subscribers, and appreciate you. Have a great weekend. Bye.